Quick Yorick RV, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the channel. And Chimmanzi, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the channel. Good to see so many of you here today. Hello. Alright, we've moved those air forces. I don't think I'm going to bother moving the fighters, although what we can do is click on Ethiopia, click on their flag, and this will give us a summary of stuff about that country, so we can just see we're at war with them. We're going to click on details. We're just going to go and have a look down here for the estimated number of planes. They have 0 planes, so they have no air force. So I don't really need to send very many fighters over here, just enough to secure air superiority, and I'm going to guess that we already have a couple of fighters here. We do. Alright, so clicking on this airbase, which is the local one, we're going to select the fighter, which is this guy. We're going to select air superiority, that's their mission. And then we're going to right click on East Africa. So that fighter is now doing air superiority over East Africa. He has a pretty poor range, so his efficiency is going to be really, really bad. We're then going to do the same with the tactical bomber. We're going to click on them. We're going to click on close air support. So this tactical bomber is now supporting our offensive moves. And we're going to click on East Africa. Now tactical bombers move a lot further, so you can see that its efficiency is also going to be a lot higher. And then finally we're going to do the close air support, East Africa. Close air supports are like specialists at close air support missions. They have a much shorter range, but they're a lot better at it. So when it can actually hit stuff, he'll do more damage, but the tactical bomber is going to be more efficient because he can reach more areas. It's a little bit of give and take. So in Europe, where the air zones generally are a lot smaller and there's a lot more air bases, you can probably afford to use more fighters and more close air support. Whereas if you're in, say, Asia, where the air zones tend to be massive, you probably want to use heavy fighters and tactical bombers because they have longer ranges and they can deal with the distances involved a lot better. Okay, the other thing I wanted to double check is, does Ethiopia... I was going to say, does Ethiopia have a navy? But seeing as they don't even have a coast, I'm going to say, no, they don't. Awesome. Well, I'm going to... I think we've pretty much done everything that we needed to do for the setup, so we are now ready to unpause. So I'm just going to press space. Space handles pause and unpause, and you can see up here the passage of time. So it's now 1 o'clock on January the 1st, 1936. And then it'll be 2 o'clock. And we're moving very slowly because we're on speed 1. So at the start of the game, we probably want speed 3 or 4. If you're more advanced, you can probably do speed 5 until things really happen. Because for most countries, the exception being Italy here, is you'll just be going through your focuses early on. So you can basically just blitz through time, focus, done, next focus, done, next focus, done. And then once the wars start, you drop the speed down to speed 3. Speed 3 is usually a pretty good speed. 2 if you're a real new beginner and you need a bit more time to think about precisely everything happening. So we should be seeing our armies getting into position down here. So this guy is being moved over to one slot. These guys, he's being moved over now. We're not under immediate threat down here. So because we have this little arrow, he's just moving manually, just like walking. However, if we press the railway button, he is now strategic redeploying. Oh no, that's just saying we need to press Control B. It's a different... This is something you have to use a hotkey for. So if we press Control B, then his arrow becomes a railroad, and he will suddenly move much faster into position. But doing so dropped his organization to 0. Which means if he gets attacked, he will basically automatically be routed. He'll put up a little bit of a fight, but really not much. And in fact, they immediately attacked us. So that's a potential breakthrough for the enemy against us. We're going to leave this, though. I'm kind of okay with that. Although what I will do is I'm just going to switch my air force from one side of the map to the other. So all 3 of these aircraft are now going to be based down here to provide a little bit better support to this guy. Because I believe that close air support is generally done by what they can actually reach. Battle is still going on down here, which means we've got close air support helping out in that fight. And we're actually winning this battle right now, despite the fact we have no organization, simply because our troops are just that much stronger, and we have complete air control over them. Are there any disadvantages to strategic redeployment besides the morale? Nope. Organization, yeah, not morale. That actually... is another thing we should discuss. So the green bars and the orange bars, what do they mean? Green bars is your organization, which really can be thought of as morale. Once their organization reaches 0, they will break and they will run back a province. And that's usually random. You can tell them manually where to go just by right clicking. Not going to do it because then they will start running. So I could say these guys need to run here, right click, and then they'll start withdrawing to that tile. If their gold bar runs out, that's their fighting strength, then that unit is destroyed. It's relatively rare for that to actually happen. The other thing is the lower the strength, the less damage and capability that unit has. So this unit, this Ethiopian unit, has about half fighting strength, which is probably why we are technically beating them even though we have no organization. And if we click on the green thing, we get the overview of the battle. Messe's in charge, so we already have a level 4 to level 2 commander superiority. We have 203 defensive strength against their 4 breakthrough, and then 2 soft attack versus our 26. So our units are just significantly stronger than the Ethiopian ones. And actually, I'm going to just add this guy to Messe's force. So Messe is now at a full 24-man strength, which is going to be important because if they have full strength, then a trait will start to rise, which is skilled staffer. Let's actually talk about that. So depending on what your commanders are actually doing in battle, they will get these earned traits, which is just this first column. So for example, if you are using battle plans, you will just earn Organizer over time, and then once you have 1,000 experience in Organizer, then you will gain the bonuses assigned to that trait, which is plus 10% planning speed. Also, Organizer will lead to a bunch of Field Marshal traits. So Field Marshals with Organizer are really strong, especially for Logistics Wizard, because it reduces the supply consumption of all units in that army, or that army group. It's a Field Marshal, which is a huge bonus. Messe, as we explained earlier, has the Armour Officer, so he's more likely to get Panzer Leader experience. Panzer Leader we can see here. So once he receives 700 experience in Panzer Leader, then all tank divisions in his personal army will move 5% faster, have 10% additional attack, and they're also more likely to gain attack skill when they level up. So we kind of want to get that one quickly, if we can. The other benefit of this, and something I should also explain, is division attack is not just when they are attacking, it's their damage. Attack should really be called damage in this. It's just all damage done. So armor division attack is both their soft attack and their hard attack. And that's when attacking or defending. It's just damage dealt. Cavalry leader, motorized, cavalry and mechanized attack plus 10. And you gain it for having cavalry, motorized and mechanized. So just for having a lot of cavalry units in an army will mean that they start getting the cavalry leader. Cavalry leader leads to either cavalry expert or combined arms expert, which again have more bonuses. So you kind of want to build your army generals based on what traits you want them to earn. So we might actually be doing Messe a little bit of a disservice by giving him this much infantry, but then again, having this many troops fighting under him means he will have a lot more experience gained, which means he will level up as a general faster, meaning he'll get more stats. So the attack stat is just damage dealt, defense stat is the resistance to damage, planning is your planning speed and max planning, and then logistics is your supply consumption. So just having more of these numbers is always better. Unfortunately, you have no control over which skills he gets when he levels up. He just gets 3 in 3 random categories. And I don't think they can double down. Although, as I said here, more likely to gain attack on level up. If he has Panzer Leader, he's more likely to get attack skill, which for a tank commander is really helpful. And yeah, I'll just kind of let you go through these on your own. But the 24-man army, which I had him, is for this. So as long as he's controlling 24 units, then he'll start gaining skilled staffer. If he has 23, he's not going to gain any experience in that. And eventually, if he completes skilled staffer, then he can actually control 30 troops instead of just 24. Is there a category that becomes more important over time? Not really. It really does depend on what you want your generals doing. So eventually, my defensive units, these two, I'm going to want to give them the infantry stuff. So I really want them to get infantry leader and probably infantry expert, just to increase the amount of damage done by those. Oh yeah, artillery expert is a Kaiserreich thing. I forgot about that. Alright, cool. In fact, I wonder, do I want to move my mountain? I probably do, because Ethiopia is primarily mountains here in the north.
Pronto, signore.
So I'm going to cancel the Alpine division. I'm just going to draw another line here, We're going to ignore this bottom one, so this is again where we can kind of... no, we are going to draw the whole way. Then we're going to do an offensive line, and we want you going purely across the mountains. Then I might actually say, Messe, I want you going from the left. So you can go across the desert, which is going to be a bit flatter, a bit easier. And then Messe, your northern line is going to aim for the lowlands. Like so. So we'll have the Alpine troops coming across the top, and then Messe's non-Alpines along the bottom. Do you have any Alpine troops? You do. So if I give these two to him, then I take 2 regular infantry and give them to Messe. I think I might actually put them in the bottom set. Like so. Again, control, left click, we'll assign them. Are we playing Pacific States later? Probably not. Just want to do this one today. Don't worry, that series is coming back, it just won't be until next week. Yes, that is very true. One thing which is very important to consider are surrounds. So if we had, for example, a tank division down here, we smashed through this unit and then took this territory, so then this guy is completely isolated. If we counter-attacked into him, if that unit has nowhere that he can run, so he can't run into neutral territory, he can't run into our territory, he can only retreat into your own faction territory or your own territory. He would have nowhere to run, he would just be destroyed. It's just the same as having lost all of his strength. So getting cut-offs like that is a great way to reduce a country's fighting ability. And that's one of the main uses for tanks, is you just smash through, make a little pocket. What's called a pocket is where you just have a group of soldiers cut off on their own, and then you slowly but surely encircle that and then squish it. Really enjoying this and finding it useful. Good. I'm glad. So what my plan here is, I'm going to let this guy just attack into this unit. And I'm going to kind of sit back and just watch. And then once his organization goes down a fair amount, I'm just going to counterattack with this guy. Okay, so in fact both of them could now attack. He didn't actually spend very long attacking us, so I'm just going to let him recover his organization now. Now that he's no longer strategic redeploying, that organization's just going to return over time. And there are various technologies that you can get which will increase the recovery rate over time, and leader traits, and focuses. There's loads of ways of doing that.
Attento.
Here come Messe's reinforcements, here come the tanks, and they're just all sailing in. Alright, have the navies arrived? I think they probably have. So we're just going to drag around all the navies, and I'm just going to press G, which is merge. And now all of our fleets are in just one giant task force. Now, please, 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 please do not leave your fleets like this. This is a fantastic way of getting them sunk. I'm just doing this so I have them in one place so that I can then reorganize them. If you want to learn more about how navies and naval warfare works, I will be talking about it through this series, because this is going to be a very naval-orientated gameplay, because we will be fighting against France and Britain for the control of the Mediterranean. That's our task. And then also, hopefully, to take Africa. We'll let Germany worry about France and Poland. But if you want more like in-depth detail about fleets, or if you just want a tutorial dedicated to fleets, go check out my naval tutorial, which you can find at youtube.com/MordredViking, and then just do a search for Hearts of Iron 4 naval tutorial. Or if you are watching on Twitch, then Bussy has just linked you to it directly. Thank you. If you get a bunch of Messerschmitts from your German allies and give them to Messe, will I have a mess of Messerschmitts? Yeah, I guess. Okay, so what are we actually doing with this? Well, we're going to select all of the submarines. And we can actually do that by right-clicking on the submarines and then just selecting all submarines. So those submarines are now being split off into a separate task force. So each line up here is a fleet, and then each individual unit within that fleet is a task force. So a fleet is basically the same as an army group, and a task force is the same as an army. We are going to click down here, which turns it into a new fleet. So this is a fleet of just submarines. I'm wondering if I want to get rid of the tier 1 subs, save some manpower. Maybe. We have a lot of tier 1 submarines though. No, we'll save them for now. Okay, so that leaves this fleet. We have got 2 battleships, 8 heavy cruisers, 11 light cruisers, and 80 destroyers. I'm going to select the light cruisers. Just going to double click them so this selects all of the same type. Then double clicking on this and double clicking on them. So we have all of those selected. And again, we're just going to create a new task force. Click on the new task force and then new fleet. Unfortunately, you do have to do it that way. Which leaves just the capital ships and the destroyers. We have got 10 capital ships and 80 destroyers. We want 40 destroyers in this fleet. So we're going to click on the task force composition editor, which will select all of the ships under their control right now. We're going to get rid of the light cruisers. We're going to get rid of the submarines because they are not in this fleet. And then we're going to hold down Shift and drop this down to 40. So we have 40 destroyers with our 10 capital ships. We're going to press OK. We're going to unpause. And now this is one war fleet. These are the guys that we'll send out to actually fight battles. This is like a perfect combination. For every capital ship, you're going to want 4 destroyers or light cruisers. So 1 capital ship to 4 screens. So perfect combo. And then we have 40 destroyers left here, which is again perfect. I'm just going to press S to select half of them. And then I'm going to create a new task force. And then with those 2, we're going to create a new fleet. So these are 2 sets of 20 destroyers. Those are going to be our escorts. We want to make sure that we keep escorts open through the Mediterranean so we can keep supplies flowing into Africa if we do go to war with the Allies. I'm not going to assign orders to these guys just yet. We'll talk more about that later. But for Italy, this is a good organisation. So you have all of your capital ships and 40 destroyers in what's called a strike fleet, which is going to be using the strike force order. We may as well give them an admiral. So let's take a look. Admirals work in much the same way as generals. They all have traits, they all have skills and abilities, and they all have a different level. For the strike force, you're going to want primarily someone who has the Ironside expert factor, so gunnery expert. So Carlo Bergamini would be an excellent choice for your capital. In fact, he is a freaking amazing capital ship commander. Naval AA attack minus 20%, so we're going to be very susceptible to air attacks, but we have extra capital ship armor and also more likely to get Ironsides. Really, really good choice. So he's going to be an excellent, excellent, excellent person for the strike fleet. Then we got these ships, which are actually going to be our recon. We want somebody with spotting and somebody with blockade runner. So possibly Giuseppe Fioravanzo. Or possibly Iachino, though I think Angelo Iachino is actually going to be our submarine commander. Yeah, definitely going to be the submarine commander. So, let's see, what do we have? We have Battleship Adherent, Superior Tactician Spotter, Positioning, Navy Organization Retreat Chance, Enemy Retreat Chance. No, I don't really want to use that on a recon. Actually, yes I do. Desara could also be good recon, but we really want to have spot. You know what? Yeah, Desara is going to be our spotter. I'm trying to think who you would be. Spotter tactician could also be useful for that. Submarine, escort, recon. There we go. That's what we're going to do. Actually, you would be better for escort. Giuseppe has blockade runner, which increases convoy speed while retreating. So Giuseppe is going to be our escort commander. And our submarine commander was going to be Iachino. Because he has bolts, which is more speed, which means the submarines can escape faster, and he does more damage, which is just useful for subs. Then he has spotting chance, which means he's more likely to find people to actually raid. Which then leaves the recon. And Campione does have spotter, so I think he would actually be a good choice for that. We're going to need to make sure that we maintain air superiority over the Mediterranean. Because we have that naval AA attack minus 20%, we are very susceptible to air attacks throughout our navy. So we need to be very careful about that. Okay, so we've assigned the different admirals to those different positions. Admirals, just like generals, also level up over time. So part of the reason that I wanted Bergamini to be in charge, he starts with Ironside, I didn't even need gunnery expert, is because he gets access to all of the upgrades for capital ships, which is these guys. Ironsides takes a fantastically long time to level up, so if you have an admiral who starts with it, make him your capital admiral, because it will pay off big time. Spotter increases your chance of actually seeing stuff. Blockade runner is great for escorts because they're more likely to run away, and it makes the convoys under their control run away faster. Superior tactician is positioning, so the better your positioning, the more ships that you can bring to bear faster. So large fleets want superior tactician. Fly swatter is your effectiveness against air attacks. Unfortunately, fly swatter levels up to cruiser captain, which is one of the most useful abilities for recon captains. Fly swatter, kind of similar to air controller. Sorry, not air controller. Ironsides is another one that's just really hard to level up. Likewise with air controller, which is the carrier version of Ironsides. Then we got fleet protector, which is anyone that uses destroyers. So fleet protector would be great in your strike force because you have destroyers protecting your capitals, and also for escorts because you have destroyers protecting the escorts. And then Seawolf is uniquely useful for your submarine captain, and actually Seawolf will usually level up super fast. Alright, onwards. I think right now we can go to speed 4 because we are just getting our armies into position. One thing you don't want to do is attack too early. We're also going to select all of our tactical bombers. We're just going to select close air support, and we're just going to click over East Africa. So then we have now 36 aircraft assigned to close air support here. So basically anyone that even thinks about fighting is going to get blown into oblivion. We are currently losing oil because we only generate 48 oil and we're using 70 on the Air Force. When ships start actually sailing, we're going to lose even more oil than that. It's going to be disgusting. Was there already an answer between vanilla DLC and naval game? No, because I don't actually know what non-DLC naval game looks like. Yeah, this is Hearts of Iron with all the DLC enabled. And I would highly recommend you get Man the Guns if you're playing Hearts of Iron, because it is a really good expansion, which adds a ton to naval. In particular, the ability... I think the big change is the ability to actually assign different modules to your ships. I don't think you can do that without Man the Guns, but I'm not 100% sure. Oh, the other thing which we totally forgot to do was check on our dockyards and what we were producing. So the first thing I'm going to do is set all of my ships to having just one dockyard assigned, which gives me a couple of spares. Do we have any ships which are almost done? Yeah, so what I'm going to do, and this is just me being a little pedantic, is I'm just going to order these in terms of when the ships are going to be finished. I'm just going to shift click on the up arrow. That will just minimize all of the details so that I can see these kind of at a glance. So you're going to be done quickly. 4th of May, 21st of May, 16th of June. That should be a good order. Then we're just going to shift click on those again, and then I'm just going to fill these in. So much the same as the ground and air production, these work in the same way. So all of the factories will be assigned to the first one. It'll finish in about a month. Then those 2 dockyards will be assigned to this one, making it 3 dockyards, which will mean this will be built faster. Then those 4 will go to here, then those 5, then those 6. And we'll just get these ships just done faster. And then later on, we'll start focusing on the heavy ships. Now, because I just don't like wasting stuff, these guys already have a little bit of production done on them. If they had less, I might just cancel them and then create my own types. But considering production's already started in them, I'll just let them finish. It's fine. I just won't queue up anymore. Meanwhile, The Ethiopians have decided to launch a pretty heavy attack against us here in the south, which we are holding for the time being. They have started to mass more troops down there, but then we are starting to mass many more troops in the north. And Messe, we can see his little bar down here, is showing how strong he's feeling compared to the enemy. So he's feeling pretty confident about his chances at assaulting. But again, we want to wait until the planning preparation is done, especially on the 3 tank divisions. They're going to be quite important. And actually, I'm kind of curious where the tanks are. I might actually set them their own task. So we're just going to create a little front line right there. Is that separate? Yes. I'm going to assign the 3 tanks to that. And we're going to say spearhead. And we're going to go here. So what spearhead means is they're not going to care about defending their flanks as they charge through. So they're just going to go steaming through and basically just try to take as much territory as quickly as possible. I don't want my tanks fighting in the mountains, because tanks in the mountains, not as bad as you would think they are, but still not great. And we're going to try and take the lowlands and hopefully take these territories, then we can push into Addis Ababa, which is their capital. So we're going to do a tank rush to here, and then straight into Addis Ababa. That's my battle plan right now. And we're just going to let the southern front just hold right as best they can. I think we're also going to need to buy in a little bit more oil. So the way that oil works in this, we're going to buy from Venezuela, because they're neutral. I don't want to build up the Soviets, and I don't want to build up the United States. So this is costing us 6 convoys per 8 sets of oil that we're importing. You buy oil, and then oil is automatically converted into fuel. This is one thing that I did not understand when Man the Guns first came out. It's automatic. You don't need to build refineries. So we're buying 8 oil. We can see... There we go. Base gain 48. That's just like cottage industries generating oil. And then 8 oil is then converted into 422 fuel, which is producing still nowhere near as much as we need, but our stockpile will last longer. This is how long at current consumption your stockpile will last. So we have 64 days of fuel left before it runs out. I doubt that the war will be over in that time, but we can just continue to import more fuel later on when we need to. Have I spoken of division width yet? Yes, I have. Alright, so, Messe, how's the preparation coming? One other thing you can do is this one, which is called a staff office plan. This will increase planning speed by 400% for 7 days, but I don't think it's necessarily really worth waiting for just 26% planning preparation. So we're just going to leave it for now. But if you are attacking and you kind of need to maintain your momentum, but in order to have that momentum you need more planning speed, it can be worthwhile halting your offensive, popping the staff planning ability, getting the planning prep, and then attacking again. These are like special abilities that your commanders can provide. So not all of them are made equal. Not all of them can do everything. So there's one which is force attack, which means you'll take more strength damage, but you will do more damage to them. There's last stand, which means they will never run away. So even if they're out of organization, they will not retreat, but they will take more strength damage. And then staff office plan. Each of those costs a certain amount of command power, which again is the red telephones.